Mark Webber has just dropped a bombshell on Oscar Piastri, and the timing could not be more dramatic as the Formula One world rolls into Las Vegas for one of the most decisive weekends of the season. What Webber has said is not just flattering, not just encouraging, but genuinely shocking in the context of the title fight. Because according to Webber, Piastri is doing something so rare, so unusual, so extraordinary that only one name from modern Formula One can be used as a comparison: Lewis Hamilton. And that comparison alone could reshape the entire narrative of this championship campaign. But the real bombshell comes in what Webber added immediately after, a warning that could change everything for Piastri as he tries to rescue his title hopes under the neon lights of Las Vegas. What makes Webber's words so explosive is the moment in which they arrive. Piastri is stepping into a weekend that could define the rest of his career, and Webber has essentially held up a mirror showing both the brilliance of his rise and the fragility of his current situation. Compare Piastri to Hamilton is to place him among the most naturally gifted drivers of the modern era, but Webber didn't stop there. He emphasized that fighting for a world title in just year 3 is something almost unheard of, something that requires not just talent, but an inner strength that few drivers discover this early. And Las Vegas, with its freezing temperatures, unpredictable grip, and relentless pressure, is precisely the kind of racetrack where that strength will be tested like never before. Webber also made it clear that this moment is not about perfection, but resilience. Piastri's recent run has been rough, with dropped points, lost podiums, and rising pressure as Lando Norris extends his lead and Max Verstappen continues to stalk the fight. And now, in the middle of a championship battle that is tightening by the hour, Webber has chosen this moment to publicly declare that Piastri must find more character, more composure, and more steel if he wants to claw back control of his season. Coming from a man who has fought Alonso, Hamilton, Button, and Vettel for a world title, that message hits with the weight of experience and with the urgency of someone who knows how quickly a championship can slip away. All of this unfolds as Las Vegas prepares to host a race unlike any other, a Grand Prix run in freezing desert air, on a layout that exposes every weakness and magnifies every mistake, a track where fortunes can change in a single corner. And that is why Webber's warning feels like a spark thrown into a powder keg, because if Piastri rises to the occasion, this weekend could become the turning point of his young career. But if he falters, even slightly, the title could move out of reach in the blink of an eye. So, before we unpack every detail of Webber's shocking statement and the enormous pressure now resting on Piastri's shoulders, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and stay with us until the end to understand exactly why this bombshell has shaken the entire paddock. Webber explained that Piastri is on an incredible journey, one that almost no driver in the modern era has taken. Fighting for a world championship in just his 3rd year is something Webber described as unprecedented, and he is right. Only Lewis Hamilton ever found himself in such a position so early, and even then, Hamilton was driving what many still consider one of the strongest rookie cars ever built. So nearly won the title in his debut year, missed it by a single point, then returned with a hard-earned layer of composure that transformed him into a world champion just 12 months later. For Webber to place Piastri in that same bracket is staggering, because it means he believes Piastri carries a blend of talent and mental wiring that only a handful of drivers acquire in their entire careers. But Webber did not simply praise him. What made his statement truly shocking was the warning he attached to it. He made it clear that the next stage of this title battle will not be about raw speed, flawless laps, or perfect setups. It will be about character. The kind of character that does not appear when everything is going well, but when the pressure becomes almost unbearable, when confidence cracks, when the world's spotlight is brightest. And Webber could not have chosen a more volatile moment to deliver that message. Piastri is arriving at Las Vegas with his 34-point lead, turned into a 24-point deficit, and every mistake now carries the weight of an entire season. This is where Webber's bombshell becomes a psychological earthquake. He didn't suggest that Piastri can win. He didn't promise that McLaren will deliver the perfect package. He told Piastri that if he wants this championship, he must confront something deeper than driving technique. He must confront himself. And when a driver hears that from someone like Webber, a man who fought Alonso, Vettel, Button, and Hamilton at the peak of their powers, the message hits with the force of experience, sharpened by regret, but knows exactly what pressure can do. He knows how quickly a title challenge can evaporate. His warning wasn't theoretical. It was the voice of someone who has lived through the emotional tornado Piastri is about to enter. Las Vegas only multiplies the intensity. This is not a circuit that allows drivers to ease themselves back into rhythm. It is cold, unpredictable, unforgiving, and brutally exposed. Tires fall out of their operating window within seconds. Grip shifts every lap. The straights are so long that the smallest error becomes a massive time loss, and the barriers sit there waiting for the slightest misjudgment. For a driver who has lost momentum, Las Vegas is a psychological minefield disguised as a racing circuit. And Webber knows that if Piastri truly wants to reset his campaign, he must prove himself in precisely this environment where fear creeps into the mind before the first lap is even completed. What makes this weekend even more dramatic is the timing. After Las Vegas, only 2 races remain. 2 races to overturn a 24-point deficit. 2 races to outscore a teammate whose momentum is rising like a tidal wave. 2 races to keep a 4-time world champion from snatching the title in the final breath of the season. Webber's warning was not a motivational speech. It was a reminder that this is the moment that defines a career. For Piastri, it is not just a championship fight. It is a crossroads. He either rises here in the most chaotic race of the year, or he watches the title drift away into the desert night. Webber confessed that when he was in his own championship battle in 2010, he had years of experience behind him. He called himself an old dog, someone capable of filtering noise, controlling emotion, managing the psychological spikes and crashes that come with competing for a world title. Piastri, by contrast, is still learning what those spikes feel like. He's still discovering how quickly confidence can disappear after a single mistake, how hard it is to rebuild rhythm when every lap is scrutinized, and how isolating a title fight becomes when you're the one on the back foot. Yet Webber is asking him to be both youthful and seasoned at once. Hungry, yet calm. Bold, yet controlled. This is where the comparison to Hamilton becomes even more striking. Hamilton's early career was defined by moments where he had to overcome psychological turbulence just as much as on-track pressure. The heartbreak of 2007, the chaos of 2008, the relentless scrutiny that followed him everywhere, he emerged stronger because he learned how to turn emotional collapse into competitive fire. Webber is hinting that Piastri is now approaching that same kind of test. And unlike Hamilton, Piastri must face it not in a stable team with years of dominance, but in a McLaren outfit, juggling 2 title contenders and dealing with a resurgent Verstappen who is waiting for the slightest crack to pounce. The tension deepens when you consider Piastri's recent form. 5 races without a podium, fluctuating setups, confusing radio moments, a penalty in Sao Paulo, and a clear shift in momentum towards Norris. These are not small issues. These are the kinds of fractures that grow under pressure. And yet Piastri is still here, still mathematically capable, still talented enough to pull off something historic. But as Webber made painfully clear, talent alone will not survive Las Vegas. He needs grit, resilience, and an emotional backbone strong enough to withstand the next 72 hours of championship warfare. Piastri himself has admitted that working with Webber still feels surreal. He grew up watching him race, admiring him from a distance, and now finds himself taking life-altering guidance from the same man. That dynamic adds weight to every word Webber speaks. It is not just advice, it is mentorship, shaped by memory, respect, and expectation. When Webber tells him to show more character, it hits with the weight of a hero asking his successor to carry the legacy forward. And the timing of that message, just before the most chaotic race of the season, feels almost surgical. Las Vegas is exactly the kind of circuit where character overrides confidence. Drivers cannot rely on natural rhythm here. They cannot depend on the track to settle beneath them. They have to drive through uncertainty, commit through doubt, and trust themselves when everything else feels unstable. The bright lights, the cold night air, the high-speed commitment zones, none of it forgives hesitation. This circuit exposes fear more brutally than any other on the calendar, and that is why Webber's warning feels so heavy. He is telling Piastri that the only way forward is through the storm, and with 3 races remaining, the pressure is nuclear. Norris leads the championship. Verstappen is still within mathematical striking distance. McLaren are juggling ambition with anxiety, and Piastri stands at the centre of it all, facing a weekend that could transform him from a promising young driver into the next major force in Formula One, or leave him wondering how a title he once controlled slipped through his fingers. Webber's bombshell was not meant to intimidate him. It was meant to wake him up, to remind him that greatness does not emerge when everything is smooth, but when everything is cracking. As the paddock braces for a night race that promises chaos, unpredictability, and championship-defining drama, the question becomes brutally simple. Will Oscar Piastri rise to the moment and prove Webber right, or will Las Vegas become the turning point where the title begins to fall out of his hands? The next chapter of this extraordinary fight is about to unfold, and the world will soon discover whether character, not speed, not setups, not strategy, is the key to unlocking one of the most remarkable title comebacks in recent Formula One history.